welcome to the SpeakIn podcast. I'm Ananya from SpeakIn, Asia's largest digital learning platform for professional growth through one-on-one coaching and group learning sessions. In today's episode, we have a distinguished leader from Singapore who will share their personal corporate journey, insights on leadership, and a lot more. Our guest today is Edina, Szabo. She brings over 13 years of dynamic HR experience across diverse industries, including renewable energy, language education, tech, and hospitality in both Europe and Southeast Asia Pacific. With a background deeply rooted in cognitive neuroscience, she specializes in learning and development, talent management, and employee engagement. She's passionate about crafting corporate cultures that drive success while nurturing individual brilliance within teams. Edina's innovative approach aims to elevate organizational performance and enhance employee well-being, emphasizing a holistic perspective in HR strategies to achieve sustainable growth and team satisfaction. It truly is an honor to be speaking with you today, ma'am, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's an honor for me too.
Lovely. To begin with, can you tell us a bit more about your career journey and some of the key milestones that have shaped your professional path?
Sure. I think I didn't have a very common path, I would say. I was lucky enough to be most of the time at the right time in the right place. But other than that, it wasn't very usual. So I was lucky to have my university studies when the European Union started thinking of lifelong learning and introducing this as a program across Europe and making it mandatory for companies. And this was when my university degree was created, just a year before I was about to start my studies. So I studied adult education management, which is a very rare specialty. This is within human resources management, but it was very, very targeted at how adults learn. How do we develop people after they start working, right? And they started their career path already. So that was pretty exciting. And then to continue on that path, I followed my cognitive neuroscience and communication studies, as you mentioned. So that helped me a lot to dig a bit deeper into how the memory works, how the brain works, and how we can use this in communicating better or in working with people better. Back then, I still didn't think I would work in HR. I was a firm believer I would end up in marketing. It was by chance actually that I started my second job as a teacher, in fact. So after a short period in the renewable energy industry, I went into this medical English school where I started as a teacher, and then I became head of studies. And from there on, basically my journey actually started on developing people and leading international or multicultural teams. So it started a bit differently, I think, than for most people in HR. But then I think the red thread was always the fact that I met great people. I was usually surrounded by very multicultural teams, which I always enjoyed. And my passion just grew more and more about seeing how others develop, how we can increase the knowledge within a company, right, and how we can grow talent internally. So that became my passion, and that's what I do now every day.
Lovely, lovely to hear that. Obviously, madam, and you had a very interesting journey yourself, so very inspiring. Moving on, could you tell what are some of the most important lessons you have learned in your career and how do you continue to grow and evolve as a leader?
I think the most important lesson, I wouldn't overcomplicate it, is really just keep up to date, right? So no matter how relevant your studies are, they get outdated very fast, especially nowadays, right? So just keep up to date. That could be listening to podcasts, right? Reading blogs, following people who you appreciate for their work. And I think we should never underestimate the value of networking, the value of staying connected. I think there's so much we can learn from each other. And if we put together our expertise as professionals, then I think that's fantastic. So I'm always very closely in touch with other people from the industry or outside the industry, and try to keep fresh, really, with maybe some informal learning, and learn a lot from others. So I think that's what shaped me the most. I'm a very practical person. I don't necessarily see myself in going back to a very formal, lengthy, several years study or institution anymore. But I still think that some mini courses, crash courses, and informal learnings definitely help me to keep myself fresh and my skills fresh.
Truly, ma'am, well said. Everyone has to learn every other day. And as you put it across, what's really relevant in today's day and age is to stay up to date. Um, Really good advice. I think all the young professionals seeking it as well right now at this stage. So a lot to learn from everyone who's going to view the podcast. Well, to move forward, could you share a quote or mantra that inspires you and keeps you motivated?
Yeah, I think it's not, it's just yeah, it's a quote from Jeff Bezos. I used to work for Amazon before, and Amazon, I think, shaped me in many ways professionally, and I could really identify with the culture there. But one thing that Jeff mentioned a lot was you don't get extra credits for making it difficult or complicated. And I really took that to heart, and I like it a lot because sometimes as leaders, we have this, I don't know, urge to create very complex processes and something that looks very fancy, very big, right? When sometimes simplifying it would actually make a bigger, would be a bigger help or use for the business. So I really keep this as a mantra. There's no extra credit for complicating it. If there's a simpler answer or if we can remove some manual processes from it, let's do it. Um, I don't seek I don't know, maybe recognition. I would say that way. I don't seek recognition based on how complex it is. I think it's more about the value and what it generates for people. So that's my mantra. Just keep it simple.
A simple yet powerful mantra right there. Moving forward, how do you see the role of HR evolving in the next 5 years, especially in the context of technological advancements and remote work?
Well, I think in spite of all the technological advancements and artificial intelligence, what I see is that we're going to have even more focus on the humanity, on the human side of it. And what I mean is there will be more and more systems, softwares, and technology that will do the part that doesn't need the human interaction, that doesn't need that critical thinking or analysis. So I think all our skills can be augmented by these technologies, which gives us maybe more room, hopefully, and more time to focus on the human aspects. So I am an optimist from that perspective, and I think the human side of things will get more emphasis. And I also think because of all these technologies and AI, we will probably focus even more on data privacy and some of the ethical issues that we need to cover. The sooner, the better, because I think that's the only way that we can advance it and leverage the potential of these technologies. So I think in the HR field, we will be pretty busy in the upcoming years with this. But I'm also looking forward to it. I think it's a very exciting time for those who are young and thinking of choosing a career. I don't think it's the end of HR, definitely not. I think it's just the beginning, and it's going to be a much more human resources than before. That's how I see it.
Truly, ma'am. Yes, I think all young professionals seeking a career in HR are going to look forward to it. And technology is always going to advance, but you can't take away the human effect from any kind of role which does require it.
Sure.
Um, right. Can you discuss a significant challenge you might have faced in your career and how you overcame it?
Significant challenge. I wouldn't even call them challenges because I chose them. I don't know if you can call it a challenge if you choose it. But I think it was I switched industries, I switched departments, roles, areas, I switched countries, now continents. So I think there's always significant challenges in these moves. But I think what's most important is that I never ever stayed in my comfort zone, and that helped me grow the most. So I think some people learn from great leaders, others learn from challenges, others learn from trying to step out of their comfort zone. The latter was my strategy, and I still challenge myself. So I only relocated to Singapore 8 months ago. And it was a huge change, of course, but it's also a very, very big learning. So just jump, close your eyes and jump and do it. That helps, and I think that's the fastest way to learn. Usually, I don't feel ready for it. I'm not gonna lie. Before I take a decision, I and mostly the people around me say I'm absolutely crazy. I shouldn't do it because it's very, very dangerous. But that is usually the sign for me to do it because that means I'm going to learn faster and I'm going to learn a lot. So I think taking risks is definitely the best recipe for learning and for growing, both professionally and personally. I think the two always go hand in hand, and it's equally enriching, right? I can't really separate the Edina at work and the Edina at home. It's still the same person. So I think it's fantastic to have that opportunity in and outside of work to grow. And for that, to me, is stepping out of my comfort zone regularly.
Truly, ma'am, really well said. Yet again, every challenge should be taken as an opportunity. Right. And to end our lovely conversation that we have had today, can you discuss a defining moment, perhaps, in your career journey that significantly impacted your career path and your leadership style?
One specific one is very hard to choose, but I think maybe an important one was when I chose the hospitality industry. I think it will mark my career because I always say once you choose hospitality, you can never get out of it. So, talking about switching and all that, I think I'll stay in hospitality. But when I switched to hospitality, I think that was a very remarkable step for me. It's such a people-centric industry, and it's so beautiful. I think it really marked me. It showed how important the human aspect is. And of course, working in HR, you would always be related to people, no matter what company, right? But I think the industry still matters, and how the overall culture is. There's just as much you can do about it, right? And here, I think in hospitality, we are so aware that the human factor is the most important. That I really enjoy working here. I think it's for the first time, it's just full on, when you're really, really, really enjoying this passion and share this passion. So I think what's maybe slightly different is that I don't need to convince stakeholders anymore. So it's slightly easy as well. Everybody shares that view. And I think it's wonderful. I can focus on other aspects, and of course, there's still a lot to innovate, especially when you bring in new technology, right? Hospitality is a quite traditional industry, so in that sense, there's a lot to innovate. But when it comes to the people aspect, I think this is where I learned the most, and this is where I felt people are appreciated the most. So definitely a huge change for me when I moved from tech to hospitality, but also a very rewarding change.
Well said, ma'am, and every change is rewarding at the end of it, so definitely. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights and experiences with us today. It was an absolute pleasure having you on the SpeakIn podcast. I thoroughly enjoyed having the conversation with you, and I definitely hope the viewers will love it too.
Thanks
To our
so much.
To our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with us for more inspiring conversations with Asia's top leaders. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on our social media platforms. Thank you.